Did you change your background?
Just
Burton,
the
did you change
color,
just the
just the
color?
LEDs.
Got it. Because I don't know that I'd seen I don't know if that's a plaque or a book
Oh,
on your,
the Tech 100 plaques.
yeah,
Yeah.
what is that?
We Tech 100 recognized us. That one's for propelling a digital revolution. So they wrote a little snippet about us on Tech 100. I
That's
think this
cool.
one is uh, for innovation leads, profit follows. It's just a little plaque that we got. So this was kind of like their way of saying, "Hey, thanks for being featured in an article." So that one's for an
That's
award, and that one's just kind of a
cool.
feature plaque.
I like that, man. Very cool. Good background. I love your background.
I appreciate it.
Everybody,
Thank you.
got Burton here from PropStream. He's going to be talking about predictive analytics and using their AI product. Is that what you would call it, man? Is that this? Am I?
Um, well, there's a lot to it. So one of it does do predictive analytics, and the other one is kind of really unique in a sense it's a grading system, and we'll talk about that. But two features that our PropStream Intelligence is providing to our audience right now.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I honestly didn't even know you guys had this. So every time it's like something else that I didn't know about PropStream. So where do you want, where do you want to
Absolutely.
start with this, man?
Well, you know what? I could just show it off. So, I guess before I jump into it, I can kind of explain how it's in theory working. So, for a lot of people that understand the real estate data industry, us companies, real estate companies like ourselves, we gather that data through other sources like the county records office, tax assessor's office. Sometimes we buy data in bulk from larger providers. We call them repository. And then once we get all that data, we house it in PropStream, and then we put it in our server, and then we get our team to create a user interface, and that's what you see. So everything that you see now is custom built to what we want you to see. Data normally doesn't look like this. To give you an example, for those that are watching, data looks similar to here things like this. You're going to start seeing data will look something like that, where it comes in text format. Sometimes the format's not the same from one county to the next. So just kind of sharing with you the logistics of things. We get it from a single source. It comes into PropStream servers. We make it look pretty, and then it goes over to you, right? So like A, that's the data source. B, that's us. And C, that's, the consumer. The reason I'm telling you this is because AI got into the industry. And so AI usually impacts the middle source, the person providing you that data. And while we've seen a lot of amazing AI in the space so far, like AI for cold calling, AI for marketing, and AI for other things, we decided to use our AI for our data. So again, we buy the data, it comes into PropStream. Now, instead of just giving it over to you, we have our AI analyzing it and doing a few cool things. It's evolving, but what we've instructed it to do so far are two very, very powerful things, and I'm about to show you that today. The first thing that we've instructed our AI to do is to go through one of our data sets, and that's our MLS data. When we get MLS data, not only are we getting the status, the days on market, who the agent is, who the brokerage is, we also acquire photos of those properties. So we told our AI, can you go through these photos, analyze them, and give us a grade? Now you're probably wondering, well, I could have done that myself. I don't need PropStream to do that. I could just go on the MLS, go through those 40 photos on that property, and I could have told you whether it was in good condition or bad condition. While you're absolutely right, there are 13,000 listings in this market right now. And if each property had about 30 photos apiece, oh man, right? And we're talking quite a bit of time that you're going to have to spend. This is where AI comes into play. So for the first time ever, we got our AI to analyze these photos and not only analyze them and give you a grade, but we put it in our filtering menu as well. So now I could say, okay, well, I do want something on market, but what I'm looking for, and here's our PropStream intelligence section here, is a certain property condition. And we're going to give you five options. You can either select an overall condition of the property, and your options are from disrepair all the way to luxury. But you also have the option to filter for the bathroom, interior, kitchen, and exterior condition. So let's say I just want to move into a house. I don't want anything that's in disrepair. I could just go in here and say, I want something on market, and I also want it to be in excellent or better condition. It's going to go through our results, and then it's going to populate the properties that fit that criteria. Now, again, most of you are like, well, Burton, you're showing us what's on market. Why would that be valuable to me, right? I usually want things that are off market. Well, let me just kind of show you how it works first, and then I can give you some ideas of what you can do with it. So
Cool.
here's a property. I asked for excellent or better. This property came back. There's 42 property photos here. Again, just to prove the point, these were uploaded in March. And yes, this property is in excellent condition. But we're not looking for on-market properties. I will be honest with you, most of our users prefer off-market properties, but this is where it can get really interesting, right? So let's say you're looking for an off-market property and you're a fix and flipper. Well, again, you can find a bunch of properties that were on the MLS. This is a category that's very popular. It's called failed listings, expired listings, canceled listings, withdrawn listings. We actually have that here. So I can say, all right, well, go through all the failed listings instead. So all the properties that were on the market that had photos uploaded on the MLS, go through that category. But what I want, because I'm a fix and flipper, is I want something that's not in excellent condition. I want something that's in poor or worse condition and it failed on the market. So you try to sell it through an agent, that didn't work. Now is my opportunity to go after you. Now I'm not going after just any property. I'm going into a property that is my criteria. It's in disrepair. You try to sell it. Now I can go in there and get an even bigger discount from what you try to list it at. And that's how this can be utilized. So again, what is it that we're doing? We're just going through millions of MLS photos. We're allowing our AI to analyze that and give it a grading system. And then once you have that grading system, you can go in here and say, I want failed, and I want that property to be in poor or worse condition. And there you have it. Here are your two properties that failed. This property happens to have 12 photos attached to it. And you can clearly see that this property is definitely in disrepair. So
That's
one of the things, again, we've told our AI to do is just to give us a grading system, but we wanted to make sure that you had that ability. Sorry, Tristan, for interrupting. You had a bring up?
no, I'm just saying that's awesome. It makes my life easier.
Yeah. And here's where it can evolve. This is fairly new. As we constantly get MLS data every day, our AI is going to go through data. But in our previous sessions, I've always talked about how a lead isn't always going to be on a list anymore, how you can start utilizing all of our data to create situations. And so what I'm starting to notice, especially in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty, either low equity or, we don't know if prices are going to remain, go up or go down, creative seller financing becomes very popular when that happens. And here's how we could use it for creative seller financing, right? I'm looking for a
Yeah.
property that's residential, single family, right? It currently is off market, or again, maybe it failed recently on market. It's owned by just an individual. And here's exactly where I think creative seller finance can work. We have mortgage information. So let's look for a property that has a single mortgage. It's at a low rate, let's say no more than 4%. And now, normally, this is a list that one would go after with doing subject twos, for example. But the challenge is that I still have to go through 2,100 results to see which ones are repaired and which properties are not, because the ones that are not, we got to renovate them before we put someone in them, right? And then do our subject to strategy and vice versa. But for the first time ever, I don't have to do that. I can say, hey, I want something that's in great condition, good condition with an existing mortgage and go from there. So whether you're an investor or an agent looking for a house for someone to immediately move in, like these right now, 47 in great condition properties that failed. I just got to reach out to the homeowner and see if they'll work with our brokerage, and that way we can provide them, or expose their property to some more eyes, right? So this feature, it can be utilized for anybody, agents, investors, people doing creative seller financing. I've even seen contractors go in here and look for just poor properties. Reason being is they want to go in there and help the homeowners renovate their property. So PropStream Intelligence, this is one of our features, and that's our property condition grading system.
That's amazing, dude.
Thank you so much. And then the next thing we told it to do, because we're not done yet when it comes to AI, is our foreclosure factor. And this is where the predictive analytics come into play. So one of the data sets, or some of the data sets that we collect, are things like pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, and bankruptcy. So we have pre-foreclosure, we have bank-owned properties, which are foreclosures. We also carry bankruptcies. We have mortgage data, as I showed you. So one of the things we told our AI to do is go through those records, go through the pre-foreclosures, the bankruptcies, the foreclosures, and look for, you might want to call them similarities, but I guess in the tech space, they call them indicators. So go through these records and identify indicators, similarities, if you will. And once you identify those indicators, run those indicators across every single address in the market. And then once you do that, we can now provide you a grading system, in this case, a foreclosure factor. And what that means is this address has a certain probability of heading in that direction. Now, it's not guaranteed because you could swoop in and list the property and solve that homeowner's problem, or maybe you're an investor and you make a private offer and solve that person's problem. But this is how the foreclosure factor works. And I like to use it with other elements just to kind of drive more motivation. So, for example, again, another popular category could be like, I'm looking for a failed listing, or how about someone who didn't pay their taxes? Let's find someone who hasn't paid their taxes. They're in a residential property, but the foreclosure factor is very, very, very high. So let's say high or even higher. It's currently off market, so we have the opportunity to reach out to homeownership and get it listed. And
Mm.
then it's owned by an individual, not just anybody, but just an individual who's probably been here for like 10 years or so. And then there are our results. We have 68 addresses that fit that probability. And so when we go into those properties, you're going to see our PropStream intelligence bar right here in the middle, and it's going to give you the percentile that we've identified it as. And then there's also, once this loads up here, I'm lagging a little bit, there's an intelligence tab that explains exactly what that grading system is. So, pardon the lag here. But that's how it works. So essentially, it's taking pre-foreclosure, foreclosure data, and mortgage data and other distress categories, identifying indicators, running it across every address. Let me load that again. And then once it does that, it provides you, there we go. So this one has an 87% foreclosure factor. We can see it's been owned for 10 years, 7 months. This person has three mortgages. Holy moly, right? That's probably adding to that foreclosure factor there. We have a
Yeah.
tax delinquency. Again, we added that. That was our initial search. I want tax delinquent. I want it off market. And I just want a high foreclosure factor. I didn't even ask for three mortgages, but because again, these are the indicators, these are the commonalities that we'll normally see when someone's going into foreclosure, right? That people in foreclosure typically have more than one mortgage. It's going through the whole city and trying to identify these individuals. And not only is there 10 years of ownership and multiple mortgages, but there's also no equity on this property. Now, again, we could go in there and make sure there's equity because we do have an equity filter, but I'm just showing you how this data works. It's really honing in on those indicators. Again, you can call them commonalities if you'd like, running across every single address, and then you'll be able to go into those address, identify ownership, look at the mortgage information, what's the reason, and then kind of go after that. So predictive analytics, in this case, it's predicting the possibility of foreclosure when it comes to these properties.
All right, some questions. Number one, is it available in all of the US?
Yes, it is, and it's currently growing. So it might not be available in small rural areas, but give it time. Our AI is analyzing. When we have data in those markets, which we practically have data in every market, then the AI will eventually kick in. So it might already be there. Just know that again, we usually start in the more dense areas and then go from there. But if we have data and we have photos and we have pre-foreclosure foreclosure data in that area, then our AI will kick in those markets as well.
Perfect. And do you just use MLS data or do you use other data?
For the foreclosure factor photos, the property condition, we are using MLS photos. As for the foreclosure factor data set, so again, when it comes to PropStream intelligence, there's two sections there. There's the property condition AI, and that's utilizing MLS photos. And then the foreclosure factor part of our PropStream intelligence, that's using the pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, bankruptcy mortgage records, and other records to identify, again, those indicators to let you know which addresses are heading in that direction or not.
All right, another question. How close to real time is the data?
Well, no data set's real time. I think the only like true data set out there in the market, in the consumer market that's real time is actually having access to the MLS, right? So you have to have your license, you got to have access to the broker's MLS. And then when someone lists a property, let's say Tristan lists a property, I'll be able to see it within like the next 2 seconds, right? 2 minutes.
That's
That's
fast.
kind of like Facebook. When I post something right now, everyone sees exactly what I post. MLS is typically the only one that operates that way. As for most of the other data sets like auctions and tax delinquencies and senior owners, and even like our pre-probate data, that's our deceased owners, that cannot be timed. No two counties are on the same time frame. So while we do query every day, essentially while we ask these sources, hey, what do you have every day? That doesn't necessarily mean they have something to provide. And so because we know that we don't know exactly when they're going to give us the next deceased owner or the next delinquent property. We've introduced things like going into the filtering menu, adding your filter. So let's say you do want that tired landlord who's, recently failed on the market. So now you want to reach out to them and see if you could help sell it. Because we don't know the next tired landlord that's going to fail on the market, we've created the save search feature. So you can actually create your filters, apply a save search. The important part about that save search is not only does it save your filter, but it provides email notifications. And if you're going to do this quite a bit, like you're going to have 5 different lists and you want to make sure you're on top of those 5 different categories, we do have a feature called Lead Automator you would like to maybe consider. What that does is once you build your list and we store it in your My Property section, we can take any marketing list, any filter, or any list that you've created and automate it. So as you saw me a few moments ago, I just went into this page. Now I can click on my automated leads and Lead Automator will tell me how many I need to remove and add to that list this morning. Because again, we're constantly getting new records. We don't know when it happens, especially when it comes to your particular criteria. Everyone's filters are slightly different. So once you apply your filters, automate it, and then let our system notify you via email, or even in this case, move those records around for you automatically. So when you log in next time and you click on your list, it's already up to date. You don't have to worry about reaching out to a homeowner who just sold or a homeowner who just listed with your competition. That's Lead Automator. So to answer your question, we update every day, but the providers that we get data from may not have something every day. So to counter that or combat that, to make sure you stay on top of that, we have the Save Search feature and the Lead Automator feature.
Oh, yeah, I like that. All right, some more questions. You're showing us so much cool stuff. We're getting great questions. All right, Hector wants to know, how about Puerto Rico? Do you have
No, we don't have U.S. territories, just U.S. properties only.
perfect? Next question. All right, a few. Hold on. How would you know if you have the data in the area before signing up? Like, how do people know that you actually have Thousand Oaks or
Oh, great questions. Well, first thing I would recommend is try the trial period because you get 7 days to figure that out yourself. In the trial period, we don't limit you at all. You can search any market, you can go into the property details. The only limitation that you have in the trial period is that when you're a subscriber, we give you 10,000 properties to save and export out of our system. In the trial period, we limit that to 50. So while you could do everything I just showed you a few minutes ago, play with the PropStream intelligence filters, your export limit will be 50 in the trial period. So again, how do you figure that out? You got to just definitely go in there, type in Thousand Oaks, type in whatever market you're in, and then not only type in the market and see if data pulls up, But I also recommend that you go into the filter and start playing with the filters because it's not a matter of whether data pulls up, it's a matter of whether your filters are pulling up. So I don't want you to just go in there and search a market, be like, okay, this is good. No, no, no. Go in there, go into the filter, build what you need, and if it populates, then hopefully that will be a better determining factor.
Perfect. Next question. Dude, it's 7 days free. Everyone should be like, oh, I'll test it out right now for free. Uh,
Yeah, and not that it's going to happen to everyone, but we have
yeah,
people in our testimonials saying they even got a listing in that trial period. But I know that's a rare thing. I'm not saying that everyone's going to experience that, but as long as you're utilizing those filters accordingly in the trial period, you never know.
true, true. Are failed listings updated or removed in the home if the home is relisted or sold?
Oh, great question. Failed listings are removed and then well, they're going to be removed from the MLS section. So MLS represents anything, active, contingent, pending. If it failed, it will be removed from this section and then it will be applied in the failed section. But we do have MLS history. So there could be a property that's, yes, active today, but when you go into the MLS details tab, you could see that, and this is a perfect example, that at one point in the past it did fail, right? So we will provide the MLS history for you, and so you'll know, okay, yes, it's active, but it just failed 3 months ago at this price point, and now it's active at a lower price point. It could have a new MLS number, it could have a new agent representing it. So yes, we will make sure it goes in the right category when it's on market to fail and then back to on market if that's the case.
Perfect. Great question, Steve. Another one. Can we save the search results and saved search lists will get updated on an ongoing basis automatically? That's a great
That's a
question.
great question. And that was the lead automator. So, for example, this list that we just created right now, this is my Thousands Oaks on market list. I could add a few filters. Once we save this list, add it to a list and save your results, we store it into the My Properties section here. And this is where the automation can kick in. So I can take any marketing list I've built, like my Las Vegas 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom list, right? These are homeowners who've been sharing 1 bathroom for a year with their family. Well, because tomorrow could be a property's 10th year, right? Everyone has their own time frame. Tomorrow I could have two houses that hit their 10-year mark, and I'm going to need that property. Well, either I search this filter again and again every single morning, or that's where the automated feature comes in. Again, it's called Lead Automator. What that does is it takes care of that researching and heavy lifting for you. So you build a list once with whatever filter, you save it, and then you automate it. And when new properties match your criteria, we can add it to this list, add it to another list, or you can take care of it yourself. So what does that mean? That means I never have to search these filters again. I build it once, just like they used to say, set it and forget it, right? You build it once, you forget it. But if you automate it, you can click on your Denver list and see how many more properties you need to add a week later or 2 weeks later. So we do have automation features. I recommend that you use it, especially if you're building more than one list.
I like that. All right, let me see what I got. Ray, do you have the age of the owner too? Hold on. Do you have the age of the owner to profile those that may need to downsize?
We don't have an age filter. We have just a years of ownership filter. But what you might also want to consider is we have a category, Ray, called senior owners. This category represents three things. Anybody with 25 plus years of ownership, a reverse
Hmm.
mortgage, or a senior citizen tax status. What I've seen people utilize
Oh,
this
wow.
with is our property details. And to your point, Ray, we can do things like I'm looking for a senior owner in a residential single family property. Maybe that property is a really big building, so now they want to downsize. So maybe put like a minimum 3,000 or more. Or we have a numbers of stories filter. This is actually the more popular option. I'll see users do senior owners in a residential single family property, minimum stories two. And there are your 1,400 property owners, senior property owners that would like to maybe downgrade to a single story property. So I think with that question, Ray, it kind of boils down to selecting the senior owner a category and then just tweaking the property details so that, again, what we're doing is we're using the property details as the motivation to want to consolidate or downsize. So how do we do that? I would say maybe just put a pretty big minimum size or use the numbers of stories features.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Another question. Do you have divorce data from the courts or
It
the court?
varies. So the divorce data typically comes from the court, but again, it's all dependent on the states and the municipals and counties and how they, record their documents. Some do it through the courthouse, some record it at the county's office. And yes, we do have divorce data, so you can definitely see that in our system.
I like that, man. There's a lot of great questions, everyone. Thank you so much for the great questions.
Very good questions.
Rosemary, that means people are paying attention, which is great. Uh, how do you how do you get the pre-probate information for states that don't provide that online?
Oh, that's a really good question. And this is, I guess, kind of a good question because it's really what separates us from other providers out there. This is a common question I get. It's, hey, Burton, I'm using this product. What's the difference between you and this product? Well, there's many dozens, if not thousands, hundreds of different platforms out there. Here's the honest answer for everyone to understand. Every one of us is collecting data from the same providers, right? There's only one MLS data in your market, maybe two or three, and providers like us are going to collect that data. We don't create any new MLS data when we go into a market, right? We only collect what's provided there publicly, sometimes privately, and that requires rubbing elbows. So why am I mentioning this? Think of it this way. Let's say we all go to the same grocery store today and we get the same 10 ingredients. Great. Who cooks better with those ingredients? And that's the difference between products. We've been collecting data since 2006, and in 2021, we were acquired by one of the largest title companies out there, Stewart Title. And so we pride ourselves upon cooking with data and cooking right. So how do we know? Your question was, how do we know when someone passes away? Well, that's through multiple networks of data. We collect title data, we collect obviously deceased data. And so when our system identifies, oh, hold on, someone's name appeared on the deceased list, we can run it through all of our title information and then pinpoint that property for you. So pre-probate, what does that represent? A deceased owner on a title of a property. And that's how we're able to do it. And that's why it's tricky to answer questions like we saw earlier, which is, do you guys update daily? We don't know when someone passes away. And so our goal is to query data every day. But when something comes in, we recommend that you use these save search features and automation features that we have so you can stay on top of it. But that's a really good question. How do we find out who's a deceased owner? It's through multiple networks of data. Once we identify those single, again, these are called indicators, we're able to put it together and then provide it to you, the user.
Excellent. We did a probate session. Remember that, Burton, where you broke down, you went into the probate back end and everything.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
has a
we
question
did. And we
about,
shared some filters with that too,
yeah,
some
that
popular
was a
ones that
great
people are
one.
utilizing.
We may do that one again. So Carol will show that one in probably a future session. Rosemary has another great question. How can we search for a 2+ story home? I didn't
Oh,
catch that.
yeah. No problem, Rosemary. That's in the property details, and that's right here. There's a filter called numbers of stories. And so you just apply whatever minimum you would like. Very popular. That feature, again, very popular with the senior owner category. So you might want to put those two together.
All right. I'm just reading a question there too. This is a good one too. Damn it. Good questions. Ray, he says, please confirm you have out-of-state absentees that I can use PropStream intelligence on to find homes in poor condition.
Oh, absolutely, you can. So that search would look like this. You type in a market, let's say Las Vegas. Then you're going to want to go and apply your property condition. You mentioned poor, so let's look for everything, minimum up to, poor or average in this case. And then ownership information is going to wrap up that question that you asked. And that's owner occupied, no. Obviously, we want absentee owners. Decide whether you want individual or corporate absentee properties. You're probably looking for individuals, and then right below it, the location. So you can do exactly what you stated, out of state, out of county, or even local, depending on what your search is. But in your question, it was out of state. So here are all the less than average property condition photos owned by an individual who lives out of state. And there you have it. And again, we could even make it dire. So go in there and really, really just say, instead of average, let's make sure it's like in really, really poor condition, maybe even disrepair, and go from there. And another one that's very popular with this search we'll see is that right there. We'll see people utilize this for like family transfer. Show me someone who lives out of state who just acquired a property through a transfer, right? Because again, you inherit it. That also means you inherited not just a property, but taxes and everything along with that as well. So one thing to consider is maybe utilizing that filter with your search.
Good one. And then last one, maybe last one, because some good questions are coming through. Lakeisha, what's up, Lakeisha? Are the leads are the leads list pre-built, or is this something that we have to set up ourselves?
No, great question, Lakeisha. So the lead list section, the first section of our filter menu, this is everyone has access to this. So there are 20 categories here that you can utilize right off the get-go. I like to think of this more of like the traditional approach where you go to the county and grab a list and work off that. That's what this section is. So you can search any market. We're nationwide. We don't restrict you. So type in your market and then go in our filter menu. And you could either start with one of these categories. Or if you've seen some of our other videos, what's cool about PropStream is we don't force you to pick a category. So if you just want to go to Las Vegas and see everyone who has an adjustable rate mortgage, you can go in here, just click on mortgage and say adjustable rate, and then we'll show you every property that has an adjustable rate mortgage in that market. So the cool thing with PropStream is while you do have 20 categories to choose from, you don't have to stick with that. You have over 165 filters, so build whatever you like to build.
Awesome. All right, we've got a few more questions, but please test it out. It's free. You can discover the answer for yourself. I promise. I've tested this out. It's so intuitive, very easy to use, and way more tools than I know that I've used. Because every time I talk to Burton, I find something new. I'm like, I didn't know that piece. So I can tell you 7 days isn't going to be enough unless that's all you're doing all 7 days. And then you may be great at it. But other than that, please use that link. Let me grab it again so that you guys can do the 7 day free trial. Let me grab that. There it is. It's at the bottom. Hold on. Nope. Nope. That wasn't it. That was something else. Copy, paste. There you go. That's the right one.
Eh,
All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping in. We appreciate you, Burton. Always great, man. You do such a great job. I don't know that we could ever stump you with any questions on this, which is absolutely awesome. Thanks so much for doing this, man.
Absolutely. And if you guys have more questions, I'm sure you have, just reach out to our staff. We're open. Just give us a call. We'd love to address any questions that you might have about PropStream. But thanks for having me,
Thanks,
Kristen.
everybody.